My roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me.
Greetings and good evening. Ife Kilimanjaro here this evening for a third monthly talk on remembering purpose. The theme of this evening's gathering session is about noticing messages and learning lessons. In this session, I'm going to talk a little bit about the messages that we receive from our inner self, spirit guides, the universe, and more, and invite you to consider a few questions and prompts to reflect upon as you think about the messages that you receive, how you receive them, and what they mean in your life. So I'd like to first begin by inviting you to center yourself and take a couple of deep breaths. Prepare for this session. Wonderful. So welcome again. I'm so glad to see you here. I'm so glad that you've made some time to join me in reflecting on these things. So I'd like to invite you to grab your journal, something to write with, and sit back comfortably. And I'm going to open up with an excerpt from Remembering Purpose. All right, so I'm reading from chapter 4, a letter to reader, my kindred spirit. Over time, cultivating the practice of listening has been important on my journey of life. Listening to my gut, my intuition, my spirit, my body, and then doing something. What does it mean to listen? There are different ways our soul communicates, that our spirit speak to ourselves, that our ancestors speak to us. In my experience as an Akamfo, for some, or at certain times, the soul sends a message through the gentle movement of the wind, passing between leaves on a tree, or the utterances of an unknown person who one may encounter in the course of a day. A message that is embedded in the context of a TV show, a conversation or presentation, an experience. It can be subtle or overt. Whatever it is, there's a way that guidance and messages come to us from our spirit guides and inner soul. Though not the most elegant example, I recall one time when walking to the train station on my way to work, self-critical thoughts were going through my mind. I was in one of my abusive tangents where I was calling myself names, beating myself up for not having done something in the way that I thought I should have done. There were many thoughts swirling through my mind. And just as I stepped off the curb to cross the crosswalk, I fell into a crack that I had passed many times before. But somehow I missed in this precise moment. I landed on my hands and knees, my bag rolled off my shoulders and fell on the pavement. Because it was after the early morning rush of school children and workers, only a few people turned their heads as they kept walking to the metro's entrance. Fortunately, there were no laughs that I saw, or I might have felt the need to feign injury or mask embarrassment, or to mask embarrassment. As I picked my body up and my ego from the ground, I immediately traced my thoughts back to the moment when I fell to recall what was happening in and around me. One of the things my teacher, Nana Ankobiahini Operabiaba Queen, instructed was to notice the thought that comes in moments when something happens or catches my eye. In this case, I could have simply fallen because I was deep in thought and didn't pay attention to the curb. In fact, this very thing happened to me in New York a few years previously. I was walking into the bookstore in a flood of people crossing the street when I fell right in the middle of the street because I didn't even notice the hole in front of me. With the fall at the train station, however, I immediately knew in my gut that there was a message there. It had to do with the way I was talking to myself, the energy I was directing to myself with the negative talk. It was like I was hexing my spirit, sending bad energy to myself with the thoughts that were going through my mind. This is one example of the way that one's soul, ancestors, or spirit guides can show us something. I encourage you to notice the way your spirit guides speak to you and cultivate the practice of noticing what comes up when certain things happen. So I'd like to invite you to take a few moments to reflect on a few questions. And you can sit and reflect on them. You can write words. You can draw images. Whatever is coming up for you in response to these prompts. The first one is, what does listening look like for you? What does listening look like for you? How do you, or how have you received messages, whether they've come from something inside of you, whether they've come from an ancestor, or a message that comes through the tree, or something that you see or notice outside? How have you received messages? And what have you learned from them? So there are 3 questions that I want you to sit with right now. I invite you to press pause and reflect on them. Again, write with words in your journal, sketch, draw, and even as I'm thinking about it, move. What is coming up for you that could point you in the direction of noticing what listening looks like for you? How do you receive messages? And what have you learned from them? My hope is that you took a moment to pause. And so now I'd like to come back and invite you to drop some questions in the comment box below. I invite you to send me a note and share, if you're willing to, kind of what's coming up for you. It doesn't have to come to me. Your thoughts, your reflections don't have to come to me. Share them with someone with whom you talk about these things with, if you can, if you have that person in your life. Or simply read through them over again. So noticing, there are so many different ways that people hear, that you may hear, that I hear. Again, these messages, our bodies tell us things. Our bodies are often our primary beings that tell us when something is going on within us. There could be a stirring of the stomach, an ache in the heart, chills that go up one's back or arms. They're telling us something. These messages that our body gives us are inviting us to notice, take notice of something that's happening. And there are also ways that we receive messages from other places, through the dreams in the dream worlds. There are some folks whose ancestors communicate with them through dreams or through the flutter of a butterfly going past. A very distinct thought that comes into a person's mind when they see a flower open up or notice a person crossing the street, or, there could be any number of things. Your experience will be your unique one, but my invitation to you is to take a look at your life, at the things that happen, and become aware, if you are not already, of the different ways that you receive messages from yourself, from your ancestors, from your spirit guides. I'd like to share another excerpt with you. This is from an earlier chapter in the book. Bear with me as I find this. This is from chapter 3, Conversations with My Soul. And I am skipping forward to, I don't have my book with me, so I'm going through the electronic version and kind of paging up here, so bear with me. Okay, so talked a bit about these messages, but what do they mean within the context of our lives? And what do they say about our purpose or the direction that we're moving? Are we in alignment with our purpose? Do those messages kind of point us towards something? And so I'd like to share with you a reflection that I had, something that I wrote in the book, excuse me. So how do I know that I'm on the right path? As I look back on our life, and this is by our, I'm speaking in plural, because in this chapter, my mind and my soul are in conversation with one another. And so when the mind is speaking, it's mostly speaking in the plural, because the mind is part of a body, a community of parts, a community of the body and the soul. And so there's quite a bit of reference to the plural, to myself, as in the plural form. So how do I know that we are on the right path? As I look back on our life, I realize that at various points along the way, affirmations, messages, and encounters would remind me that there was something bigger happening and that I am a part of it. Back in '97, while attending Howard University, for example, My housemate at the time held a vision for a Women of Color festival that would create a space for my participation as one of many coordinators and festival cook. It was humbling to be part of a group of incredible Black and Brown women committed to creating a gathering that was for us and centered creative expression, centered healing and joy. Tired after a long day of unloading food from a delivery truck and organizing it in the kitchen space, I leaned up against a support beam on the front porch of the dining hall in Maryland, where we held the festival, and took in the beautiful vision of the land before me. I thought about what we were about to do there, create a safe, intergenerational, women of color only space to experience the magic of one another and experience the magic of nature at this music healing festival. I knew I was supposed to be there. I knew that we were in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. I felt in alignment with our divine purpose. So there are ways that the messages that we receive clue us into, or can clue us into, where and how we are on our path, and whether and how in alignment we are with our life's purpose, our destiny, whether it is the element of our purpose and destiny that we have been co-creating in the course of our lives, or if it's that element of purpose that we came into this world carrying within our bodies, within our DNA, within our soul. And I invite you to reflect on a couple of questions. So get your journal, your drawing book, or prepare to sort of sit and reflect, move. Again, all ways of expressing reflection are just fine. What have been the messages that you've received in your life that let you know you're on purpose or not on purpose? What have they looked like? What were they? Where were you? What have been the messages that you've received in your life that let you know you are on purpose, that you're aligned with your highest calling? And what were those messages that let you know you were off purpose? What were they? What were you doing? When did they come up? So you're welcome to press pause, take some time to reflect on those. And I think that this pretty much concludes this session. I want to keep it short and sweet. Please share your reflections and what has come up for you. I'd love to hear them if you're willing to share, but if not, that's okay. Please put them in the comments, send me an email, and that's linked to, send me a message. It's linked to these places where this video is held. And or share it with a friend, a loved one, someone with whom you share these ideas and have these kinds of conversations. Have a wonderful evening, a magnificent week, and I wish you abundant blessings and support on your journey in life. Be well.